Hi there, and welcome to another quick battle report. My friend Tom and I got together to play today, and he brought some undead. So he brought his vampires, I guess, undead guys. Anyway, his undead army. It is kind of a non-traditional undead army. You'll see him there. He's got 2 units of their big, nasty, expensive cavalry, 2 little troops of ghouls. He's got a dude on the back of a horse, and that's on his right-hand side after redeployed. On his left, he's got 2 small units of the werewolves. He's using Warhammer Vargas for that. And then he's got two guys riding dragons. So one of them is like 6 up armor save and is the big nerf. That's the guy on the left there. And the gray plastic one is a little bit weaker. He's got the 5 up defense and something else, I forget. One of them's a zombie dragon, the other one's the other one. This is me. You'll notice that the Berserker Brock Riders are painted. Hooray! Almost done. Got a few more layers of highlights to do them and then do up their bases, but then they will be finished. Then I got a horde of Ironclad, and behind them my Berserker Brock Lord. And then to their right I have a Greater Earth Elemental, and behind him that little Wizard Dwarf is my Stone Priest. A couple of Organ Guns with the Warsmith. Shield Breakers up on the hill. To their right they've got some Iron Guard. And I got my King with the Wings of Honey Maze, represented by the Gyrocopter there. Got a Flame Cannon. And a regiment of Rangers. We're playing the scenario where you have to grab the gold, so we put them all 3 across the center, reasoning that'd be kind of silly to have them in the back when we'd only just then fight over the center objective. So we put them all across the center line, basically fairly evenly distributed. And there's the one on the right, and the one on the left. So I once again Vanguard my Rangers up. This is a mistake, probably might even be a fatal mistake for the game, but I Vanguarded up. He had both that big unit of cavalry and the Rangers over there. My plan was to hopefully throw the Lord into the cavalry long enough for the Rangers to kill the ghouls and then get into the flank of the cavalry. This is my turn 1 movement. I'm just kind of creeping up. He's got 2 dragons and he's got the big group of werewolves up there on the left. So we're basically just sort of flirting over this piece of gold on the left here. My current plan at this point was to march the Iron Guard up with the Ironclad up to grab it with the unit of Berserker Brock Riders sort of in support, and the Lord there sort of serving as a threat to both of his monsters. In the center, I move up towards the objective because he's sort of going to hang back as my guess. But either way, I need to get close to it. Oh, I also shifted my Organ Guns. They had no targets, so I shifted them up on the hill. I'm getting irritated with the inability to move and fire with artillery. It's just really frustrating. You gotta have a lot of little drops before they hit the ground, or maybe take the scrying gem to help with your drops before you can really set up a decent set of firing arcs. It's really tough, actually. I move my Lord up, my King up, hide him behind the building. I just want him to be there in support. And shooting, just put a couple of wounds on those ghouls from the Rangers. I think that's all I did. And here's a picture from the perspective of them after he's moving up. So he moves his cavalry up, he moves his ghouls up on the right. Shifts his ghouls up in the center up a little bit and his cavalry up behind. And here's where he moves his monsters to. And then he cruises one of them over to the center. So he's already taken some of that power off the left and moved them over to the center. And his Vampire Lord healed one of those wounds off the ghouls. And here's me kind of moving up, getting a little closer to that objective. In the center, I move up close, keeping my line together. Here's where you'll see on the right-hand side my King has charged his cavalry. I'm not sure if that was the wisest thing for me to do. My Rangers pick up the objective. The King is pretty good against cavalry that doesn't have any crushing strength, but these guys do have crushing strength 1, and I didn't realize it had 20 attacks. That's a lot, hitting on 3s. And there we are. After the fight, I do a few wounds, but I think I did 2 wounds to him, but no big deal. Yeah, 2 wounds, there it is, and they, of course, hold their ground. And that's just a perspective shot. This is his movement. So he charges the king, countercharges the king, brings his own vampire chief up sort of into the flank of the rangers getting ready to charge, and brings his ghouls up a little bit. Same picture. And then I've got his cavalry again kind of pushing around. He gets one of those units of werewolves into the forest there in front of the objective, and that's fine. I'm actually not too worried about them. I'm not frightened of them individually. I'm more afraid of them if they get into combat with alongside those knights or alongside that hero on the dragon. And on the left, he does nothing. He doesn't move him at all. He just kind of sits there and waits. He does 5 wounds to my gyrocopter, and then bounces, doesn't break the lord, or to my king, doesn't break him. And I go ahead and move up and pick up the objective on the left. And I pick up the objective in the center. And I hold my ground. Start backing him off, backing the rangers off, and bring the flame cannon up, put a couple of wounds on his vampire king, but that doesn't matter, because he just kind of hangs out. That is my organ cannon. What did it do? Yeah, I put some wounds on the, just a couple of wounds on the werewolves in the forest. He once again countercharges. And then he moves his werewolves in position to screen his cavalry. And then he shifts everything from that hill to the center of the field. And this is where things start to go south for me. So at this point I got to sort of reorient everything to kind of control stuff. He does some more wounds to my king and wavers him. That's what the little goblin head by him means. And charges my flame cannon on the right and kills it. This is how I reorient myself on my turn. I get my Berserk Brock Lord out there. Just because of the way I was angled, I had to shift my Brocks and didn't have enough distance to get past the shield, the Ironclad rather. So they're just sort of hanging out behind. And then over on the left, I went ahead and charged the ghouls with my rangers. And then I overran. Wound up still being in the flank of the bad guys there. He double charges the shield breakers with cavalry and his monster. And unfortunately, he pops them in a single turn. And then on the right-hand side, he also charges the Iron Guard, but does not pop them. Yeah, there he is. So he kills my king, and then he overruns far enough to where he is out of my arc, so I can't flank him, and now he is sitting happily in my flank. He kills another organ. Kills the organ cannon now with his king. And here we go into this last little very important fight. So he kills my shield breakers, which is problematic. And on my turn, I managed to get my elemental into the flank of his cavalry. My hope is that I'll pop them, take the objective away from him, and then all I'll have to do is protect the one that I have over on the left. I do not break them. I just do some wounds all around. I managed to waver a bunch of stuff. My lord goes out there and hurts those werewolves and wavers them. My Iron Guard waver the other ones. I go ahead and waver the knights, but still nothing doing. Over on the right-hand side, he runs away with the treasure. Oh, that's what happened. So he charged my guys. I'll go back a frame. So he charged my guys in the front, which is what it worked out after I reformed. And then he ran off with the treasure. And his king went into the other organ gun to kill it. And then his nasty vampire thing on the back of the bone dragon got into my Ironclad, but only did a couple of wounds. There's my Berserker Lord dealing with those guys. He gets into the flank of my Earth Elemental, but only does a handful of wounds, and the Earth Elemental holds. This is him running off the board, I think. He kills the organ gun. Yeah, so then I get the Berserker Brox into the flank of his lord. I do 11 wounds to him, but he holds. My Earth Elemental does a ton of wounds to the cavalry, but they hold. This is turn 6, right? This is the top of 6. So, or turn 5, I don't know. My turn's on the bottom of the screen that you see. Just ignore them because I didn't advance the app every single time. Anyway, so there's that, but he doesn't break, so I don't get his objective. And there's how that all looks. So what happens is we get to the bottom of 6, and he countercharges my elemental with his cavalry, but fails to break him. And then, but he's got the 2 objectives, so he's going to win unless we go to an extra turn. So we go to an extra turn, and I make a couple of decisions. Oh, that's just too soon for that. I'm sorry. My Berserker Brat goes into the rear here, does some wounds, but I do not break that thing. It's got like an 1820 or something ridiculous for its nerve, so I don't break it front and flank. Didn't happen. So then he gets into the rear of the Berserker Brat Rider, and then, yeah, this is the bottom of 6. He gets in the rear of the Berserker Brat Rider, but he doesn't kill him. He gets into the front of the Ironclad again, but does not kill them. Gets in the flank of the Ironclad, still doesn't kill him. So they got a bunch of wounds on him. So then I have a hard choice to make. I can send the Berserker Brat Rider into that dragon and those other guys into the front and kill the dragon. That will leave the werewolves untouched, and at the bottom of 7, he'll be able to charge in, and they will be able to add their attacks. In addition to the Vampire Lord's attacks. This is a hard call to make, and I think I made the wrong call. I decided to go ahead and attack the werewolves with 1, and then attack the monster with the Ironclad, reasoning that the Ironclad would be wounding on 5s. It only had defense 5. That I would do enough wounds to pop it because it had a bunch on it, and I could get kill both birds with 1 stone, and then only deal from the charge on the Ironclad with the Vampire Lord and take damage there. Hopefully not enough to break me, and then I would hold that 1 objective, which was key. So I made this choice. This is a mistake. On this side, I managed to get my giant into the front and my Ironclad into the rear. I needed to pop that unit to get its objective, and then if I did that, and then I held on the objective on the other side of the board, I would win the game. So I made a huge mistake. My Berserker Brox also went again into the flank of his previously wavered hero on the back of that dragon, but I didn't do that fight first. I did the fight because I got excited about the objective with the cavalry first, broke them on the first roll, but because of his reroll, I rolled very poorly on the nerve test, on the reroll on the nerve test, and they survived. So, my Berserker Brox got into the flank of that guy, destroyed him, so had I done that in the right order, I would have gained that objective. Oops. Yep, there's my shame right there. So then, on the left-hand side, here's the problem. I don't kill the werewolves, and I don't kill the dragon, and of course the Vampire Lord is free. So the dragon and the Vampire Lord charge the unit of Ironclad again and destroy them, and he gets the second objective, and he wins the game. That's my last picture. So what did we learn? 1, just like in Warhammer, if you can kill the BSB, do it before you have to make him roll his leadership tests. Otherwise, or nerve tests. Otherwise, you're going to kill a unit, or they're going to survive, and then you're going to kill the BSB, and you're really going to kick yourself because they wouldn't have survived otherwise. The next thing I think I'm going to do is make sure that I really do some math on crushing strength. So, had I let the werewolves attack the Ironclad, they only have crushing strength 1. The Ironclad would have had a defense of 4. They probably would have done a lot less wounds than the dragon did with his crushing strength 3. So I really have to think that through in terms of threat and what they're capable of. They would have gotten the same amount of attacks of the dragon, only they would have needed 4s to wound. I'd have cut those in half, and I might have actually survived that and held on to the objective. So those 2 mistakes probably cost me the game, although the only reason I got to even have a shot at the game was because we got a turn 7, which was only a 50-50 chance. I had lost it at the bottom of 6. The shield breakers really can't stand a really powerful charge. I got double charge in the front with a monster and cavalry, and they just got popped in a single turn. That was a huge problem. The Earth Elemental is great. I actually prefer him now, I think, to the Steel Behemoth. And I continue to learn how to use him a little bit better. I also like the versatility of taking a Stone Priest, which can give me some crushing strength in the game, which is nice, although it's a little bit tricky to figure out what to do with them. The Berserker Brock Rider with his blade still did really well. He does his job great. The King did okay. I have to pick better targets with him in terms of trying to stop things or slow things down or just leave him back for inspiring. But he did okay. The Ironclad, they're great, they're cheap, they're tough. I think I'm going to start experimenting next time with some troops of Berserkers. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the report. Not a victory this time around, but still a good learning experience.